It's quite possibly the worst job in Australia, Environment Minister in the Coalition government. Here it is, on the one hand, fossil fuel donations pouring in at record levels. On the other hand, having to go out and go into bat for the climate to pretend that there is significant climate action being undertaken by your government. It might pay $364,000 a year. This is before expenses and allowances and so on, but it's an unenviable task. The role of Environment Minister in Scott Morrison's coalition government with Barnaby Joyce as Deputy Prime Minister is somewhat of a poisoned chalice, and Sussan Ley is certainly not letting down the fossil fuel fraternity. Callum Foote has come up with a story about Ley's track record so far in the environment role. In the past 3 months, Ley has approved 3 new coal mines, but knocked back a gigantic renewable energy project. That's the Australian Renewable Energy Hub. It's a plan to build a gigantic solar and wind farm up in the northeast Kimberley region of Western Australia. The original plan was to pipe through the energy to Indonesia undersea, and now it is to turn the wind and the solar energy into hydrogen and turn the hydrogen into ammonia and export it around the world. It would mean huge export revenues for Australia. This is clean energy. It's a visionary project, but it got knocked on the head, and the poor old flat-backed turtle got the blame. It was knocked back by Ley, the Environment Minister, on environmental grounds that it would be detrimental to the migratory seabirds of the northeastern Kimberley and the flat-backed turtle, the Natator depressus, which is Latin for depressed swimmer. Well, there are a lot of depressed swimmers at the moment around Australia, depressed with the progress of climate action by our political leadership heading into the Glasgow Climate Summit, the COP26, where Australia will surely cop it. 50 new coal projects are on the boil or proposed. They're ticking them off one by one while they're knocking back renewable energy projects, and they're blaming the poor old turtles and the seabirds of northeastern Kimberley. Isn't it funny how the coalition become ornithophiles, bird lovers, when it comes to renewable energy? Not so concerned about the planet burning up so birds won't be able to be around anymore. And so it is, they're not so concerned about the extinction of the planet. In fact, even of their own species. Those people who do not want significant action on climate change. They're too compromised by fossil fuel donations and the myth that there are more jobs in fossil fuels than there are in renewable energy.
The mining industry claim that they employ 10% of all Australians. That's directly and indirectly. However, the ABS says it's more like 1.7%, and that's including all support services, so scaffolders, truck drivers, cafeteria workers, nurses, etc.
Now, Ley is merely one minor player in this, subservient to the leadership of the party. And it is a long-standing tradition amongst environment ministers in this government. We could list them now: Greg Hunt, Josh Frydenberg, Melissa Price, and Sussan Ley. Hunt and Frydenberg shepherded through the Adani thermal coal project. Melissa Price called the IPCC report drawing a long bow by those thousands of scientists and their peer-reviewed corroboration. And now we have Sussan Ley waving through coal projects and knocking big export renewable energy projects on the head on environmental grounds. Now, there wasn't even proper process followed in this case. Even if you are an absolutely avid ornithologist and lover of the bird life of the northeast Kimberley, you would probably still wait until the right permissions and the right investigations had been made. This from the WA State Minister for Hydrogen, Alana McTiernan. I'm very surprised at how quickly the decision was met, and it appears that there wasn't a lot of conversation with the proponent, McTiernan said, the proponent being the promoters behind the renewable energy project. For its part, the Clean Energy Council, which the government has been trying to crush for years until it pushed it into clean coal technology, pushed it headlong into obsolete technology that will never be properly commercialised, clean coal, carbon capture and storage. The Clean Energy Council, and we quote, a renewable energy peak body, said at the time of this renewable energy project, the Kimberley Hub, the Federal Minister for the Environment has rejected the expanded proposal for this project prior to the completion of detailed economic studies. They were seeking urgent clarification from the Federal Minister for the Environment to address the perception that this decision is inconsistent with well-established processes or with the treatment of non-renewable projects. In other words, if it's coal, it's great. If it's renewables, we don't like it. Now, the background of this, of course, is that the IEA itself, the International Energy Agency, has unequivocally stated that we need to put an end to all new fossil fuel projects. That means thermal coal, that means gas, and yet there is no plan for transition still. 50 new coal projects in the pipeline, gas projects being sped up, gas projects bobbing up everywhere, entire new basins like the Beetaloo to be fracked for coal seam gas. The interesting thing about the Renewable Energy Hub is that this was one of 3 projects which were knocked back by the federal environment ministers of recent years. There were only 3 that were rated clearly unacceptable. The other one was Frydenberg's Lord Howe Island Renewable Energy Project, which Josh Frydenberg, now Treasurer, knocked back when he was the Environment Minister. 2 clearly unacceptable renewable energy projects, and yet only 1 coal project has been rated clearly unacceptable. Like this video, comment or share if you reckon that this government is clearly unacceptable on climate action.
Unacceptable! Unacceptable!
So, Sussan, if you're listening to this, please sling us a few dollars on Patreon. Do the right thing. If you can't stand up to Morrison and Frydenberg and Barnaby Joyce, Keith Pitt, at least throw us a few dollars on Patreon and we'll take up the fight for you heading into Glasgow Climate Conference, COP26.